very special guest, Marc Ray in the building.
Oh, well, thank you, man. I appreciate you, allowing me to come on.
And we know what country you're repping. Say it for the people one time.
Well, born in America, I'm part French, part Greek, but I have a song about the Armenian genocide. I'm part Armenian as well, and that is the main cause that I'm really repping with that song.
That's what's up, man. So we had you on before, but you're trying to raise awareness of the genocide because some people you say in Turkey deny that it even exists.
Yes, and not just some people, but the Turkish government. It's a huge deal. Basically, 103 years ago, the Ottoman Empire, which is now known as modern-day Turkey, committed one of the first major large-scale genocides of the 20th century against the Armenian, the Assyrian, and the Greek people, who are all indigenous. And over 1.5 million Armenians were killed. And my grandfather and my great-grandmother actually were fortunate enough to escape and make it to America. And for the past 103 years, the Turkish government has been adamantly denying this crime against humanity and has spent millions and billions of dollars into this denial campaign, into, teaching false curricula to their citizens in Turkey, editing the internet so that their citizens can't, go on Google and learn about the genocide, and sort of bullying, using their political power as a NATO country in this alliance to keep other countries from, calling it what it is, which is a genocide.
Yeah, I mean, so much wrong with this world, man. I'm a Christian, so we believe the world was created through God's word, and people are good, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of the stuff you see on the news, challenges that thought. You know what I'm saying?
There's a lot going on right now.
We as African Americans, we can relate to your struggle. Obviously the whole transatlantic slave trade.
Definitely.
That was a genocide in itself. You know?
Very much so.
The Jewish people had the Holocaust.
Yeah.
So I guess the main lesson we should all take away from this is we got to care about each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you're going to be performing this song, right?
Yes. I'll be performing the song actually this coming Saturday, which is April 21st. I'll be performing it outside the White House in Lafayette Park for the Armenian Candlelight Vigil, which is basically a vigil and a commemoration of the genocide, that happened. We use the day that we commemorate it is on April 24th, which is the day that the genocide started back in 1915. So every April 24th, around this time in April, Armenians all over the world come together and commemorate it. So I'll be performing it at the White House on April 21st as part of the Candlelight Vigil. And then the next day I'm actually flying out to California to perform it at the big commemoration out there, which is called the March for Justice at Pan Pacific Park in L.A. So I'm very fortunate to be a part of both of those great events.
So you're performing in the DMV?
Yes.
Say that date again one more time.
April 21st at Lafayette Park right outside the White House.
That's the one right in front of the fence, right?
Exactly. And that's from 7:30 to 9 p.m. is the White House Vigil.
In case you don't know, that's 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. You know where it is. You have no excuse. Pull up.
Go out and support.
Yeah, so, Embassy, what do you think about what you're hearing right now?
It's, genocides have been happening all over the world, and they're ongoing. And it's interesting what people tend to care about and then what people don't. And I have a question for you about how many people have died in this. Do you know?
In this?
Yes.
Well, there were about 1.5 million Armenians, about 800,000 Greeks, and then about 750,000 Assyrians. But there are also other people like the Assyrians who are killed as well. But it also is ongoing right now. There's another part of Armenia called Koroban, which is actually the Azerbaijan forces have tried to make a second genocide, essentially, and so it's ongoing. There's other persecutions, other things that are going down to this minute. I mean, in Turkey, it is hard to be an Armenian. It's hard to be a Christian in that area. That's one of the things and not just about this genocide, but this genocide that happened in 1915 served as a template for many other genocides that were used on a mass scale. I mean, Hitler, when he was convincing his generals to, we can do this, this Holocaust, he said, after all, who remembers, who now speaks of the Armenians, was a very famous quote by him. So this is a cause that's not just about the Armenian people and the people who perished in this particular genocide back in 1915. It's also a very universal cause to end genocides of all sorts. In the song, I make reference to Darfur and Nanking and Rwanda and all these other genocides that have happened in the past century, essentially following the template of the Armenian genocide, that might not have happened if the Ottoman Empire in Turkey was held accountable since day one. But because the perpetrator was allowed sort of this immunity, it sort of gave further cause for other perpetrators to sort of rise up and do similar atrocities.
All right, that's well, it's beautiful that you're bringing awareness to these subjects and rapping about positive, and it takes something positive because it's courageous too. Because the trend right now is to do anything but that. They don't even know what people are saying in these songs right now. But you're sticking to what you do. You're being yourself. Okay, so were you born in Armenia or were you born here?
No, I was born here. So my grandfather and my great-grandmother escaped the genocide when it happened. They were fortunate enough to make it out and come to America. And my mother was born here, and I was, born here. Is
it safe to go visit?
Safe to go visit in Armenia. Where we were from was actually a part of Turkey, where I am definitely not welcome. So it would not be a good thing for me to go back and visit that particular part.
Have you ever seen Armenia? Have you got the chance to go at all?
No, I'm actually looking forward to going. Hopefully, if not this year, then definitely next year. There's actually a program called Birthright Armenia, similar to other programs like Birthright Israel for people who living in diaspora who can dysphoria who can come back and check out the country and view what it's like to live there.
So the song you made is called 1915, right? About the Armenian genocide?
Yes.
Well, tell us about this record. I'm about to play it right now, so please tell us what's going on in this song.
Sure. So it was produced by Grammy-nominated producer Godfather, who's done a lot of stuff for Wale and Robin Thicke and Schoolboy Q. And it's the first verse really is me explaining in 16 bars my family's escape, what the genocide was historically, and how it continues to this day. The second verse talks about the connection between that and the Holocaust, the direct connection, where Hitler quoting it. And then the third verse talks about Turkey's denial and how we can move forward and how similar atrocities have occurred because of sort of the unwillingness by other major countries to hold this power accountable and sort of leave a perceived victory for other perpetrators to sort of capitalize on. The chorus was sung by Miriam, who's a very, very talented singer. I was very fortunate to perform this song with her last year in Times Square for the commemoration up there. It's a song that is being used in a bunch of high school and college curricula to educate. Hope it speaks to you.
Yeah, definitely. Let's check it out.
Yeah.
Here's 1915 by Marc Toure live in the studio. We'll be back with more of the interview and some current events later, so stay tuned. You're in the perfect place to be. Tell people to tune right now if they're not listening already, PCRshow.com.
In 1915, the Turkish government decided to kill or expel all members of an indigenous minority group, the Armenians. Turkish armed forces systematically moved to exterminate them and killed 1.5 million Armenians. For the past 100 years, the Turkish government has adamantly denied the genocide and spent millions to cover up their crime. Denial is the last stage of one genocide and the first stage of the next.
1915, a year that will live in infamy. Countless people murdered by hostile infantry. Children still in their infancy, killed instantly. Mass executions without any sympathy. The Ottoman Empire set fire to Armenia, killing more people than untreated leukemia. Their mission was the extinction of our religion, so they started nearby where my family was living. My great-grandma and her kids fled their town. Her husband and friends had already been gunned down. She escaped, but she lost her daughter along the way. She came to America, held her son and prayed. Back home, the Turks deny the genocide happened. They say the countless dead are simply imagined. For 100 years, their regime holds control, and speaking out will land you life without parole. revolution. When Hitler planned out his final solution, he said use our pollution, right for execution, and we can get rid of them. It's been proven after all. Who remembers the Armenians? A real quote he spoke before murdering millions. Cause 1.5 million Armenians died and gave Hitler the motivation when he would arise. You see, one genocide will lead to another. People made to suffer, children torn from mothers, neighbors killing neighbors, cities turn to craters, poisonous vapors from shower gas chambers. Humanity seems prone to self-destruction. We can't think straight like we got a concussion. Why so much hate? It serves no real function. We gotta tolerate or face the repercussions. Much energy to cover up your wrongs. If you deny your past, how can you move on? Especially when the truth is coming in too strong. People's eyes are opening, looking for the light. A new dawn is rising, ending the long night. You can clutch a feeble eye and try to fight, but the world has realized you can't deny what's right. Cause we're all the same despite colors and creeds. Stop evil where it starts or it spreads like weeds. From Rwanda, Bosnia, Darfur and Ukraine to Cambodia and Nanking, we all feel your pain. Don't be content inside and let it slide. It's crimes like this that prevents our strides. And all the branch of Turkey, time to rectify. Let's heal 1915 and our genocide. 1915. 1.5 million were murdered. I pray the times change. Things change. Lord, forgive them.
Yes, that was Marc Touré with 1915, a year that will live in infamy. And we have him live in the studio right freaking now, boy.
Wow.
Yo, I like this guy, man. Marc Touré's always bringing positive energy. You know what I'm saying? Every time I talk to him, it's never negative. It's always positive. I appreciate that because there's a lot of people annoying me in my life right now. And I just, any positive energy. So big ups to Marc Touré. Where can they find your stuff at, man?
You can find all my stuff at Marc Touré. That's MARC, number 2, RAY. It's all at Marc Touré on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or at www.marctouré.com. Then the song 1915 is available on iTunes and Spotify and Amazon and SoundCloud. And then we also have 1915 clothing apparel, which is available on my website. And a portion of the proceeds will go to further spreading this important message by getting it into more high school and more college curricula.
Speaking of injustice,
yes.
Hey, we're in America.
Yeah.
I don't know how people think this, but somehow some of these people think we're in a post-racial society. I mean, they know we're not. Honestly, I think that's just people battling for the enemy. Like, they're just trying to wage their war with the hearts and the minds of the people and be like,
yeah.
Oh no, racist, they're just complaining, they're bitter, racism is over, blah, 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 whatever excuses they tend to make. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, you know, it constantly gets thrown in our face, even on the national forum like CNN, that is still here. That being said, I wanted to talk to you about the Starbucks incident and get your thoughts on that. We were talking about that when we was walking up here. I mean, what were your thoughts when you've heard about it? Like, what was going on through your mind?
Oh man, well, to be honest with you, I mean, I've just sort of like read the headlines and everything, you know. But when I was like, man, again, you know, it's like we just got over like H&M, like not even. It's like, come on, like
we
another.
won't be able to go anywhere anymore.
Yeah, like I was
not
like,
Starbucks.
It's like I'm all about.
I love Frappuccinos.
It's like I gotta boycott Chick-fil-A, I gotta boycott H&M, I gotta boycott Starbucks. It's like, man,
what's next?
Yeah, no,
but, we all got to boycott America.
Yeah,
go back to our original countries.
Everything, man. No, but no, honestly, I mean, I think the one good thing that I've seen is that apparently the CEO of Starbucks is actually going to come meet with the people who got kicked out. So I think that's a step in the right direction. And the manager who did call the police were fired. I mean, obviously, you know, they're waiting to meet a friend. It's like I do that all the time. I go into Starbucks and wait for 20, 30 minutes to meet someone, and maybe I'll get a water, maybe I'll get a Frappuccino, maybe I'll just sit there and look at my phone. I mean, they have free Wi-Fi. It's like they're set up for that, you know? It's like their business model. You come in, you sit, you chill,
I've had
maybe
hella
you buy
meetings
something.
in Starbucks.
It's like,
and that's typically the purpose. They want people to come and feel welcome and hang out.
That's what Starbucks is for.
Yeah.
I mean, that's supposed to be one of their goals. I mean, there's some people are, they didn't buy anything. Like, they probably just waiting for their man to show up. And they're all going to go cop some coffee. Like, you know. Like,
and the issue is, you know, first of all, why was calling the cops the very first thing you think to do?
Oh my gosh.
That's my thing. Like, you couldn't say, "Hey guys, what's going on? We're just wondering if you're gonna get anything. What's happening?" Oh, maybe someone would have said, "Oh, we're waiting for a friend. Once he comes, we'll buy our drinks." The first thing you think to do is call the cops, and that is the issue there.
Yep.
And there was apparently another incident where a black man wanted to use the restroom, and they told him he needed to buy something, but a white guy was coming out the restroom like, "Oh, let me get my coffee now. Wait, so you didn't buy anything first?" No, of course not.
None of this is surprising. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't look. Racism is. I don't even like talking about it anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just. Eventually, you know, it's step by step, generation by generation.
Yeah.
You know, we're doing what we can about it. My father's of the opinion that we should just ignore it. And, you know, he's got a point. Like, even back in the day, if you excelled at what you did, you could succeed, even during the days of racism.
Yeah.
That's not to give racist people an excuse or say it's not harmful. But it's just, personally, as African Americans, I think the best defense mechanism is to be successful and just push it aside. The problem comes when you're minding your own freaking business and they throw it right in your freaking face.
You, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like nobody deserves that. You know what I mean?
I think one of the things is kind of similar to, you know, the denial that I'm sort of facing with, you know, the Armenian genocide and the struggle going on there there is a huge denial in the American culture that racism still exists, like you're saying. I mean, I think one of the key differences between, you know, the America after the Civil War and, say, Germany after Nazi Germany was like, no, it's illegal to be a Nazi. The swastika is illegal. You can't draw that. You know, it's like they taught the history very clearly that is not acceptable moving forward, and they've become a great superpower and actually you know, one of the best powers in the free world right now. Whereas America, we did the opposite. We put Confederate generals on statues, and we have Andrew Jackson, the perpetrator of the Trail of Tears, on our $20 bill. Like, we put all our horrible atrocity people on a pedestal. So then when people try to take it down, it's like, no, that's American. That's patriotic. Like, the Confederate flag is patriotic. It's like, no, man, that's a flag that we fought a war against. It's like, I mean, it's like, there's a huge ingrained denial where I think a lot of people don't even realize that they've been sort of tempered and treated to thinking this is normal when really it's not.
The real issue is, you know, everyone wants to do a few things in this country. You want to be able to get a good job, raise a family, just move freely throughout society without anyone bothering you. And for some people, this is just impossible to do.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to say is, if you want equality, you need to make sure that it's equality for everyone, and you should care that some people can't do this. And so when you find that a black man at a certain point, when he becomes 13, 15 years old, his mother's going to have to sit him down and say, you can't do certain things because you could die. Seriously.
Do you want to know something that actually is completely relevant to my life right now? I wanted to get a new car. And I was going to ask my pops to help me out with this. Shout out my pops. And I wanted a black one. He's like, no, I'm not going to pay for you to get a black car. I was like, why not? He's like, because they're going to pull you over 2 seconds. Every 2 seconds. I don't want something to happen to you. It's like, you got to protect yourself. That is it's associated with a gangster person or a gangster mentality. So cops will pull you over and they'll treat you different. Or because you have a black car, I'll only get you a silver or white car if you want me to help you out. And I'm thinking to myself, really? I can't just get a black car because I like the color black?
Yeah.
Probably because I am black and I wear black things look good on me.
Yeah.
I mean, that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
But these are things you really actually have to think about.
Yeah.
Just because, they will bring it to your front door. And I've been handcuffed by the cops before and all types of stuff for no explanation and no type of cause or no justification and whatnot.
Yeah.
In America, we know where racism originated from the slave trade and wanting to justify slavery.
Sure.
Do you know where the genocide originated in Armenia, like what sparked it, or the mentality that sparked it, or anything like that?
Well, it was the Ottoman Empire. I mean, the Armenian people had been living in Armenia. They're indigenous to the Caucasus Mountains. We've been there for 3,000 years, and the Ottomans came and they conquered, and for about 1,000 years, there was like relative peace. I mean, there was but they never stopped, living as conquerors. Like once they took the land, it was like they never got out of that conqueror mentality. And then, during World War I, they were allied with Germany. World is for the first time in complete chaos, and no one knows what any other country is really doing. They use that as a cover-up to annihilate the Armenians, which were always to them we were always viewed as lesser to them.
Do you think it's because you might have been viewed as a threat, possibly?
I don't really think so. We really did not have a military strength. We did not. We were almost the intellectuals in the society. It was almost like sort of the similar motivations almost for Germany persecuting the Jews. We were perceived as very successful, wealthy, because of our success. We were great at making things, Oriental rugs and brandy. I mean, we were like craftsmen, but we didn't have a military threat. I think we were the minority. We've always been the minority in there since they conquered and was a persecuted minority, and they had an excuse to. So,
do you think maybe jealousy was a part of it?
That's definitely part of it. Another huge part of it, I think. I mean, we're just talking about perceived things like that, but another huge part of it was at that time the Ottoman Empire was collapsing. I mean, they've been an empire for ages, and all of a sudden they're losing lands all over the place, and they have nothing. So to solidify their empire, all these lands that they've conquered, all these people are rebelling against them, except for the Armenians. They're one of the few people who don't really have a military strength, and they're right next to, the main part of, the Ottoman Empire. So they move in and take out, the historic Armenian lands, which is now modern-day Turkey. So that empire, the Ottoman Empire, was solidified, and they took about the majority of Armenia, which is now modern-day Turkey. So that country has really benefited off the genocide, not just in, the denial and not getting caught for it, but their land, their infrastructure. I mean, a lot of that country is Armenia.
Oh, wow. That's very, very wow. I don't know where this desire, I mean, I personally have the opinion that ambition is from the devil, man. Like the desire to have something to call your own and glorify yourself, self-glorification. I'm the greatest. Look at my land. Look what I control. Look at my power. The way I was raised, that's from the devil because you're supposed to glorify God. You feel me? You got any questions for him, Empress?
Oh, definitely. I was actually quite curious about your experience because you were born here and your family, your mother came here. So how is your experience different, and how did you develop such this intense interest in your history, in your culture?
Well, I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, I knew I wanted to make a song about this since I first started, putting pen to pad and becoming, an artist. I mean, it's because a lot of it, the motivation is because Turkey still denies it, or the truth isn't out there. And, it's the same sort of thing. It's, trauma is passed down from, survivor to child and then, to child again. So, I mean, a lot of that, I grew up, hearing stories from my grandfather or my mother that were told from my grandfather and hearing a lot of these stories, and then, turning around and seeing, them blatantly denied. So it's it's something that I think a lot of, just about all Armenians feel that deep, pride and wanting and yearning to share this story. So fortunately, I'm blessed to have this platform and be able to get it out and package it in a way that is receptive receptive not only to people in general, but to young people, the next generation. I mean, hip hop is the young person's sort of genre that they listen to. So being able to get it out in a historically accurate way that's appealing to them is a great blessing that I have.
And so how do you deal with some of the negativity? Have you gotten any, and how much support have you gotten?
I've gotten a tremendous amount of support from the Armenian people, and all these organizations, and the reception is just, I'm so blessed to have that. Not only from the Armenian people, but from Kurdish people, from the Syrian people, from Greek. I'm part Greek myself. So I mean, to have that reception is just great. I mean, I feel like I have a whole comfort zone of people there to support and help promote and get this out there. There has been a lot of hate. I mean, obviously, I have not gone to Turkey, but I think I'm happy enough to be kind of on their radar as a possible threat, which is great. I wear that with a badge of honor. I mean, there's a lot of Turkish trolls out there who write a lot of negative stuff. The video for this went viral, got over 1 million views, and there's a lot of negativity that came along that. When we released the music video for this, we promoted it on Facebook in a lot of countries where Armenians were. We also promoted it very heavily in Turkey because the Turkish government edits the internet, that you can't go on Google and look up the Armenian genocide, and they teach a false curriculum in their schools to their citizens. So it really is hard for Turkish citizens to have access to the truth about this. So one of the things we wanted to do is push it on Facebook, because Facebook is not going to want to edit what they put up. Also, if someone is paying them to do it. So either way, it was a win-win for us, because we'll get to educate some people who in Turkey who might not have access to this knowledge. And if Turkey throws a stink and Facebook and whatever ends up taking it down, well, I had the blessing of having some great Armenian organizations who would make a big stink out of it as well, and it would be almost a blessing in disguise if they took that down. And
I'm actually very impressed by your strategy there, because I actually talk about citizen journalist in the book that I wrote, and the fact that the social media is a powerful tool where you can kind of circumvent these mainstream channels that tries to block out information, and people who are focused like you are, who care about what's going on and who wants to get information out there, you now have a direct source to other people. So I commend you for that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah.
And I do want to be very clear. I mean, I have gotten a lot of negativity, but there is a huge difference between Turkish citizens and people of Turkish descent and the Turkish government. I mean, I think a lot of people of Turkish descent and who are Turkish citizens as well recognize the genocide, and actually there's been a lot of protests in Turkey recently advocating, among other things, that the government recognize this. So there is sort of a curve. I mean, I think a lot of Turkish citizens are in denial. I think the Turkish government is definitely in denial, but then some of them do realize that this occurred in the past and are advocating for a way to move forward.
So what do you recommend for the average person, like the person who's listening, who's never heard about this before, who's like, whoa, I want to do something? What do you suggest that they do to kind of get involved and stay informed?
Well, some of the best things to do are just to educate, read about it. Like you could watch the video, the music video for this. There's lots of other historical footage and video and articles. There's some great books that were written. 40 Days of Musa Dad is a great book. Also there was a great film that was made about this called The Promise, which is directed by Terry George, the same director of Hotel Rwanda, which stars Christian Bale and Oscar Isaac from the new Star Wars movies. That movie talks about the Armenian genocide as a huge historical piece. So there's a lot of ways to educate yourself about it through media and pop culture and also on the historical level. And you could also write to your congressman, write to your senators, tell them you want this acknowledged. I mean, 48 out of the 50 states have independently acknowledged that this genocide happened, but the federal government has not. Whereas other major powers like Germany and France already have acknowledged it. I mean, there's dozens of other countries that have, but America is one of the few countries not the few, but one of the few major countries that has not recognized it. So we need to sort of advocate to our leaders, to our elected congressmen, to our elected leaders to have this recognized and send a message, because it is a precursor for other genocides. Denial is the last stage of one genocide and the first stage of the next. So we need to really show that a perpetrator will be held accountable, so other future perpetrators will not attempt it.
Wow, that's words of wisdom right there. I really appreciate that. You got some other music too. I'm looking at your SoundCloud right now. Tell me about this record called "Wake Up."
Wake Up is actually essentially a remix version of my song 1915. After that 1915 was released and got some notoriety and really started making waves, I was actually contacted, very, very blessed to be contacted by a renowned and very talented composer by the name of Eduard Hamardsumian, who was in Armenia. And he'd reached out to me about, recording some of my vocals from my song onto a record of his called Wake Up, which is a really, really beautiful record. It features a full symphony orchestra-style arrangement with an opera singer and a very talented singer as well. And the music video for that is very, very great. If you have a chance to go on YouTube, check it out. It's called, Marc Touré, Wake Up, or, Eduard Hamardsumian, Wake Up. Featuring Marc Touré. It's a very, very, very powerful visual. So that song features some of my lyrics from 1915, as well as a new verse that I wrote towards the end, which talks about the Syria crisis going on right now and how that sort of relates to the Armenian genocide and other atrocities that are happening currently.
1915, a year that will live in infamy. Countless people murdered by hostile infantry. Children still in their infancy, killed instantly. Mass executions without any sympathy. The Ottoman Empire set fire to Armenia, killing more people than untreated leukemia. Their mission was the extinction of our religion, so they started nearby where my family was living. People made to suffer, children torn from mothers, neighbors killing neighbors, cities turned to craters, poisonous vapors from shower gas chambers. Humanity seems prone to self-destruction. We can't think straight like we got a concussion. Why so much hate? It serves no real function. We gotta wake up or face the repercussions. Being bystanders, look around the world, let's set some high standards. Let's make a world prosperity, help the weak, and it's not just charity. We should live as if the children will judge us. What will we leave for them when we meet the one above?